Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Arunodayam's Biology. Today we are going to learn about transportation in case of plants topic from life process chapter. Transportation in case of plants. So in case of animals, we have seen that for transportation they have heart, blood vessels and blood. So whatever the useful substance and whatever the waste substance may be, it will get transported through blood with the help of blood vessels and a heart in case of animals. But in case of plants, they do not have these organs for transportation. Isn't it? Plants do not have heart, blood vessels or blood. But still plant needs some substances for its growth. Plant needs some substances for performing photosynthesis. Isn't it? Then how these substances will pass through all the parts of the plant? That is what we are going to learn now. So in our previous videos, we have seen that plant need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Isn't it? Carbon dioxide is one of the main raw material for photosynthesis, and this carbon dioxide is available in the outside of the in the outside of the plant body. That means it is present in the atmosphere. Then how carbon dioxide enters into the plant body? Through the stomata of the leaves, isn't it? And after photosynthesis, food material is produced, and this food material will get stored in the chlorophyll containing organs. That means the food material will get stored in the leaves, and from the leaves the food has to pass on to the different parts of the plant body. Actually, in the leaves photosynthesis takes place and the food is produced here, and from here the food has to pass on to flowers, stem and also to the roots. So that is another process that is called as transportation. So not only carbon dioxide, plant needs some more raw materials also for its growth and for building its body, for building proteins. So plant needs so many raw materials for its growth, like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, etc. And these raw materials are present in the soil. Okay, these raw materials are present rich in the soil. So soil is the nearest and richest source of these raw materials. Isn't it? The soil is present near to the plant, and it is having a rich source of these raw materials. That's why soil is called as the nearest and richest source of raw materials. The absorption of these substances occurs through the part which is in contact with the soil, namely root. So these substances are present in the soil now. Then how these substances from soil will enter into plant body? There must be some part of the plant which will take these substances, no? So the part of the plant which is in contact with the soil is root. Isn't it? Roots will always present in the soil. So root is the only part of the plant which is in contact with the soil. So the useful raw materials like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, they will enter from soil into the roots. And from the roots, these substances has to pass on to the different parts of the plant body like stems, leaves and flowers. If the distance between soil containing organ, that means roots, chlorophyll containing organ, that means leaves, if the distance between leaves and soil, I mean roots, is small, then diffusion process is enough to take these raw materials into plant body. That means if the plant is very small, then diffusion process is enough to take useful raw materials from soil into the plant body. Then what in case of tall trees? Some trees are really tall, like 100 to 200 feet, just like eucalyptus plants. They are 100 to 200 feet in length. So in case of those tall plants, this diffusion process is not enough to transport the ions or minerals from soil to the tip of the tree. Isn't it? The roots are present in the soil and their stems and leaves will be present at the top of the stem. Isn't it? So in those tall trees, diffusion process is not enough to pass on these ions to the all parts of the plant body. So in case of those tall plants, a proper system of transportation is present. Some system is present inside the plant body to transport these substances from roots to the tip of the plants, tip of the trees. Okay. Energy needs differ between different plant designs. Actually plant have different parts, no, roots, stems, leaves. So different plant parts have different energy needs. While absorbing water from outside, then roots need more energy. Okay. While performing photosynthesis, the leaves need more energy. Likewise, plants have different parts, and these different parts have different energy needs. Moreover, plants do not move from one place to another place just like our animals, isn't it? We will move from one place to another place, that's why we need more energy. But plants are stationary, they cannot move from one place to another place. And plants have a large portion of dead tissue also in it. Plants have dead tissue like cork, we know cork. It is made up of dead tissue, and we have xylem fibers, phloem fibers like this. Large portion of dead tissue is present in plants. That's why plants have low energy needs. They cannot move from one place to another place. In addition to that, they have dead tissue also. That's why plants have very low energy needs when compared to animals, and they have a slow transportation system also. Their transportation system also very slow. But in case of tall trees, they need a efficient transportation system. Why? Because in case of tall trees, there is a need to transport water from roots to the tip of the plants, isn't it? So in case of tall trees, the transportation system and energy needs are more, while in case of short plants, their energy needs are very low, and slow transportation system is present in them. So for the transportation of water from roots to the upper parts of the plant, and for the transportation of food materials from leaves to the lower parts of the plant, plants have two types of pathways for transportation. Okay, plants have two types of pathways for transportation. First one is xylem. Xylem. So plants have xylem vessels for the conduction of water and mineral salts. So xylem vessels will take water along with mineral salts from outside, that means from soil, and actually xylem is present in roots, no? Xylem is present in all the parts of the plant, but the xylem vessels which are present in the roots of the plants will take water and mineral salts and transport it to the upper parts of the plant like stems, leaves, flowers and fruits. Okay. Second pathway is a phloem. So plants have phloem vessels for the conduction of food materials. So food materials are produced in leaves actually. So from the leaves, the food materials has to pass on to stems, flowers, fruits and also to the roots. So phloem will transport this food material to the lower parts of the plant body. So two types of transportation system is present in case of plants. Xylem for the transportation of water and mineral salts, phloem for the transportation of food materials. So now we are going to learn one by one in detail. So now we are going to learn about how water is transported through xylem in case of plants. Okay, actually xylem contains four types of cells. Among them, xylem vessels and xylem tracheids are present. These vessels and tracheids are present in all the parts of the plant body. They are present in roots, stem and leaves. Okay, so what happens here is the roots are in direct contact with the soil, isn't it? The roots are in direct contact with the soil. When we pour water to the soil, what happens? The minerals, salts and ions which are present in the soil will get dissolved in water. So here concentration difference will get produced. Concentration difference is produced, and because of that concentration difference only the water will move into the plant body and moves upwards. Okay. The vessels and tracheids which are present in these plant bodies are all interconnected with each other. Interconnected. The vessels present in the roots, stem and leaves are all interconnected and are forming a channel like or tube like structure here. The tube is nothing but a xylem vessel. Okay, so what happens here is water along with these ions are having some concentration, no? So here the concentration present in the roots is high when compared to the concentration outside. So the water along with these ions moves into the root cells. Okay, the water along with these ions first enters into the root hair cells. Okay, already here one channel like structure is produced, no? So from here the water will pass to the stems and also to the leaves. This is how the water moves in upward direction because of the root pressure. We can call this as a root pressure also. So the roots are creating some pressure and they are pulling water to upward to the upper parts of the plant body. Okay, this is how water transportation takes place in case of small plants. Small plants. Okay, so water along with ions first enters into root hairs cells. From the root cells the water enters into stems and leaves through this xylem vessel. Whereas in case of tall plants, say like eucalyptus plant which is nearly 100 to 200 feet. So in case of those tall plants, this root pressure is not enough to pull water to the upper part of the plant body. So in case of those tall plants, along with root pressure, one more process also helps in the transportation of water, that is transpiration. Transpiration. So already we have learnt about transpiration in our lower classes, isn't it? What is meant by transpiration? The loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the plant. So during daytime in the sunlight, so what happens, some amount of water from the plant body will get lost in the form of water vapor through the aerial parts, that means through the stomata of the leaves. Through the stomata of the leaves, some amount of water from the plant body will come out in the form of vapor and it get lost. So that process is called as a transpiration. So in case of tall trees, this transpiration help in the pulling of water. Okay, so what happens during daytime? Stomata are present, no, so water is getting evaporated and the water is getting lost. So this lost water will create some suction pressure here, so because of that suction pressure, the water will get pulled upward. So in case of tall trees, half the way the plant will transport water with the help of root pressure, and remaining half the water will get pulled with the help of a transpiration process. Okay, so both these processes are helpful for transportation of water in case of tall trees. So not only for the transportation, this transpiration process also helps in temperature regulation. It regulates the temperature of the plant body. Okay, so during daytime both these processes are useful, but during nighttime there is no sun, no, so no transpiration also. So during nighttime only root pressure take the responsibility of transportation of water, even in tall trees also. Okay, as the sun is not there, transpiration does not takes place. That's why in case of tall trees and in case of small plants also, root pressure has to take the responsibility of transporting water to all the parts of the plant. So that is about transportation of water in case of plants. Now the topic is transportation of food materials. How the food materials will get transported in case of plants. Let us see. So the products of photosynthesis are food materials, isn't it? These food materials actually they are produced in the leaves. Food materials are produced in the leaves. Why? Because photosynthesis takes place in leaves only. So from the leaves, the food materials has to pass to the other parts of the plant body. The food material which is produced in the leaves has to pass to stems, has to pass to the roots also. So this transport of soluble products of photosynthesis is called translocation. Transportation of food materials in case of plants is called as translocation, and this process takes place with the help of a vascular tissue known as a phloem. Of course, xylem is also a vascular tissue. We have two types of vascular tissue, xylem and now this is a phloem. So, phloem, that is a type of vascular tissue, help in the transportation of soluble products of photosynthesis, and this process is called as translocation. So, along with the photosynthesis products, along with the food materials, the phloem also helps in the transportation of amino acids and other substances. Particularly amino acids are useful for protein synthesis in plants. Okay, so along with food materials, phloem help in the transportation of amino acids and other substances also. Okay, and these substances are delivered to roots, fruits, seeds and to other growing organs. The food material which is produced in the food will get translocated to stems, roots, fruits, buds, etc., to all the parts where growth takes place, to all the parts where energy is needed. Okay, the translocation of food and other substances takes place especially through sieve tubes and companion cells. Actually, phloem has 5 types of cells. Among these 5 types, sieve tubes and companion cells help in the transportation of food material both in upward direction and also in downward direction. So the food moves in upward direction as well as in downward direction also. For example, if the food is produced in this leaf, okay, the food material will translocate to other parts in upward direction and also in the in the downward direction through sieve tubes and companion cells. So we have seen that in transportation of water in xylem, root pressure and transpiration is useful, isn't it? So here in case of phloem, how the food material translocates in phloem, especially for example take this part of phloem. Here, for the translocation of food material, first the sucrose materials which are present in the plant body will enter into the phloem by using some energy, by using some ATP. Of course, both in case of plants and animals, energy is stored in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So by using the energy from ATP, sucrose molecules will enter into phloem. Because of the entry of the sucrose items into the phloem, the osmotic pressure increases. Osmotic pressure increases in phloem, so that water also enters into phloem. Okay. Then after, the food material which is present in the phloem will move to the low pressure areas. Will move to the low pressure tissues. Here the osmotic pressure is more now. So from here the food material will now move to the lower osmotic pressure area. So this is how the food material translocates in the phloem, particularly to the areas of plant where energy is needed more. Okay, wherever plant needs more energy, to those areas the translocation of food material takes place, especially for example when we take spring season. So during spring season we can see germination of buds, germination of seeds, etc., isn't it? So in those areas energy is more in need. So especially in case of spring seasons, the food material which is present in the phloem is transported to the areas where they need more energy for growth. Okay, so that is how transportation takes place in case of plants through phloem. So in this video we have learnt how transportation takes place in case of plants. So for transportation, plants have two pathways, xylem and phloem. We have seen how it takes place in both the cases. Okay, that is about our video. If you have any doubts, please ask me in comment section. I will clarify your doubts in comment section itself. And thank you so much for watching. Jai Hind.